and welcome to the Movie Mouth Film and TV podcast. This week finds us in the grip of a June heatwave and in the middle of the Euro 2020 football tournament. So if you can peel your eyeballs away from all of the drama on the soccer field for an hour, come join us as we discuss Disney Plus's new MCU Loki show, Iron Man himself, Robert Downey Jr., producing the new fantasy Netflix show Sweet Tooth, and Manuel Miranda returns to us here, humming and rapping in our heads constantly for his new musical In the Heights. As ever, we'll be discussing the latest film news and trailer reviews, plus we have a very special video store corner dedicated to one of my personal favorite 90s action flicks. It's the 1996 John Woo directed Broken Arrow. Bang, 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 bang. This is Miles, and as ever, I am joined by a man who tells me almost every day, I live in the American Gardens building on West 81st Street on the 11th floor. My name is Phil Steer. I'm 27 years old. I believe in taking care of myself and a balanced diet and a rigorous exercise routine. In the morning, if my face is a little puffy, I'll put on an ice pack while doing my stomach crunches. I can do 1,000 now. After I remove the ice pack, I use a deep pore cleanser lotion. In the shower, I use a water-activated gel cleanser, then a honey almond body scrub, and on the face, an exfoliating gel scrub. Then I apply a herb mint facial mask, which I leave on for 10 minutes while I prepare the rest of my routine. I always use an aftershave lotion with little or no alcohol because alcohol dries your face out and makes you look older. Then moisturizer, then an anti-aging eye balm, followed by a final moisturizer to protect with that lotion. There is an idea of a Phil Steer, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me, only an entity, something illusory. And though I can hide my cold gaze and you can shake my hand and feel flesh gripping yours, and maybe you can even sense our lifestyles are probably comparable, I simply am not there. Hi, Phil.
Hello.
You really are a psycho, aren't you?
I can definitely do 1,000 stomach crunches. Not. Yeah.
Maybe if you reach in for an Indian takeaway.
Oh, there's a kebab down there. Yeah, maybe.
I say it like I can. I definitely can't either, and I've been trying. I do too, and then I have a heart palpitation, and I'm like, I'm going to die now.
That's good.
You get what?
I am a psycho, though, so I'm not American.
You are. You're the non-American psycho. It's the spin-off.
I am. Yeah. I'm actually a little bit angered by you because you said the Euro 2020, confusingly, we are in 2021, but it's the 2020. You said soccer tournament.
That's right. And there are reasons for that, Phil. I thought you would pull me up on this.
I did.
So actually at the first, if you noticed, I did call it the Euro 2020 football tournament, if you were listening closely. However, I did say if you can peel your eyeballs away from the drama on the soccer field. And the reason for that, ladies and gentlemen, is because, as Phil knows so well, the majority of our listeners are based here in the United States of America with me, not over there with Phil in the UK.
Torn up
so
in a constant
just trying to diversify.
Tug of war.
Yeah. So if you can just like message us, if the Miles fans can message us, if you'd like us to call it soccer, we can. If the Phil fans, all 2 or 3 of them, would like to message us about football.
Go fuck yourself.
Please let us know what you prefer us to call it. Does that solve the conundrum?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I just cleared it up nicely. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's throwing up his fingers at me in all kinds of different mannerisms, which are very unpleasant. I'm glad you can't see that. So, Phil, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very good, thanks. Yeah.
What have you been doing? What have you been up to? What do you do?
I came back from a family wedding yesterday, which was amazing. Saw some actual people because it's been a bit more locked down here in the UK, as you know, than it has been in the US. And we're still only allowed 30 people at a wedding, but I went to my cousin's wedding, which was brilliant. It was really good. It's been put off. It was like rescheduled, I think 2 or 3 times. And I think they just said, you know what, we're just doing it anyway. So
let's just do it.
Yeah. So it was really good. It was really nice to see a lot of people and have a good time. So that was good.
Oh, that's awesome, mate. I know it's been 18 months in the UK of pretty much hell of you guys just staying indoors. I think the only time we had an opportunity to go out was when I was there briefly when we recorded that special episode. So I'm happy for you, man. That sounds great.
Yeah, that was very good.
Have you been watching much this week? I know you've had a busy couple of weeks outside of the Rock anniversary special that we filmed, that we recorded last time.
Well, yeah, apart from the stuff we're reviewing, I have watched 2 films, which were randomly on TV, which I couldn't turn off once I'd started. The first one being Commando, which...
Oh, there we go. John Matrix.
Seen it for like, the millionth time or whatever, but it was on, so I had to watch it.
I lied.
And the second one was Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Ooh.
Which I hadn't seen for quite a while. I've only seen it once before, but I really enjoyed it. It's a bit of a crazy film, that, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah. But yeah, really good. Yeah.
I haven't seen that in years. Does it still hold up? Is it?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. It's just a bit nuts, isn't it? It's just, it looks good though. I
remember it being a little low budget looking in the cinematography. I think it was like one of the first kind of digital camera produced films that Robert Rodriguez did.
Good knowledge there. I think, now I'm sure everyone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I was, because I was looking it up while I was watching it, and I think it was like the first film to be done on digital for, like that sort of thing.
Filmed on digital.
For release, yeah. I think it was the first one filmed fully digital.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting to watch. But no, it looked good. It still looked good.
It's so funny. I was thinking about that film just the other night. That scene where Johnny Depp gets the pork, like the spicy pork, and he's eating the pork in the restaurant, and he's a hitman or something, isn't he? Yeah. And he's like, this pork is so good that just to even out the balance, I'm going to have to go back into the kitchen and blow away the chef. And then you see that amazing one take where the camera just follows him into the kitchen and he just pulls out the gun and just kills him. With it.
Yeah, it's so weird.
But the reason I was thinking about that is because I had the other night I had some amazing martinis in the bar near me, which you know very well because we've been there. And they were so good that I was in my head thinking of that scene where I was like, these martinis are so good, I'm going to have to even out the balance. Instead of going over to the barman and blowing him away, which would have been very inappropriate, I went over and I congratulated him. But it's weird. I was thinking about that film.
Did you have like a fake arm on that the rest on the table that you can pretend to your real arm?
That's right. He's got a fake arm.
He's got a fake arm that's like, so he can have his gun out under the table, but it looks like his arm's on the table.
Is he holding a fork as well in that scene?
Yeah, it's like holding a fork. It's his fake arm. And then he gets up and kills someone. He's got this fake arm with a glove on it and the fork holding.
Oh, man. Two amazing movies. I did something similar these last couple of weeks. I think because we've had a lot to review. Yeah. A lot of the stuff I've been revisiting has been some kind of late night movies like you. One of those was Team America, World Police.
Oh, blimey, yeah.
Which is just amazing to this day. Yeah. To even like try and mimic it or mock it on this podcast is going to be really inappropriate, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Probably for the best.
But suck my cock, Gaddy. Austin Powers Goldmember is another one that I watched. I hadn't seen it in ages, and recently I've been buying a lot of things that have some kind of gold attached to them.
I know this. I mean, listeners, there's a running joke. Miles will message me like a photo of an item he's bought, and in typical Miles fashion, it's always like gold or gold plated or something, just so it can look nice. And then it's forever we're sending each other the I love gold gif from Goldmember.
Yes. Yeah. And because he's been sending that to me for about a year now, I was like, do you know what? I'm actually going to watch this film because that gif is hilarious. And yeah, I love gold.
You really do love gold.
So I am officially Goldmember. So I watched that. The other thing I've been watching, and I'm addicted to again, is the Japanese reality TV show. If you remember, I was watching it, I think at the start of our podcast.
I remember,
it's called Terrace House. Terrace House. It's on Netflix. I've already seen the latest season. I watched it last year, but there were 3 seasons before that. So I started watching the first season. They're about 30, 40 minutes long per episode. It's about 3 men and 3 women that live in a house, funnily enough, a terrace house in Tokyo. And it's just about their dating and their lifestyle, and they're all like kind of 20s to late 20s. And it's great. I'm addicted to it. I think I've watched 40 episodes in
how many are there?
in about 2 weeks. I don't know. It just keeps going.
You don't care.
It just keeps going. No, but the brilliance of it is they have this panel of like Japanese kind of reality TV hosts that kind of interject in between it, and they make jokes about all these people that are dating and stuff, and it's actually really fun.
Right.
I absolutely love it. It's brilliant. If anyone likes reality TV but they don't love like a lot of those crappy ones you see in the US, the cheap, like the real kind of cheap bougie ones, this is brilliant. It's really cool. I love it. I'm addicted to it, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. Slide the glasses back up my nose. And I also finished season 3 of the Kaminsky Method starring Michael Douglas, which of course is that Chuck Lorre show. Really, it's the final season. Won't spoil it, but great ending. I think it ended in the right way. Kind of sad that it did end because I was really enjoying it. I think Michael Douglas was awesome in that. But, for those of you that haven't seen the Kaminsky Method on Netflix, it's right there ready for you to watch. There are 3 seasons of it. They're only about 6 or 8 episodes a season. Go and watch it. It's brilliant.
Brilliant
That. I love it. Kaminsky Method. Brilliant. So Phil, have you got any news for us?
Oh, I do. I've got some juicy little nuggets. Juicy little news nuggets.
It's the news with Phil.
So the first
Give
one,
us your nuggets.
The first one is that Rob Zombie, the as a lot of people know, metal musician, Rob Zombie. I'm a big fan of his. He does some really good stuff, but he also obviously dabbles in film directing, more often than not in the horror genre.
House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah, House of a Thousand Corpses.
Halloween remake.
He's done other stuff that I can't remember as well. But other things. But the exciting news is that he's just announced that his next, and I'm really excited about this, his next film project will be an adaptation of The Munsters, the classic 1960s supernatural sitcom.
What?
Yeah. This sounds awesome.
It does sound awesome.
Yeah. So he posted this like image on his Twitter and Instagram and stuff of just like the Munsters logo and said like he's hugely excited. I don't think there's any news on cast or release date or anything like that. But I think it was reported that it might be like a streaming platform film.
Okay.
But
so it is a film, not a show.
It's going to be a film, I believe. Yeah. A film project. Yeah. So it's a film project. So that could be interesting. I wonder who'd get to play Herman Munster. I loved that show when I was young.
Me too. Yeah, we obviously saw the repeats of that or the reruns of that.
Yeah.
What's a rerun? The Munsters was basically, for those of you that don't know, it's an American sitcom that depicted the home life of a family of benign monsters. It was kind of a rival series to The Addams Family.
Yeah.
Right? It was kind of on that kind of macabre.
Yeah.
But it was a fun kind of comedy. So I wonder what he's going to do with it. That could be very interesting.
Yeah. I'm really intrigued to see what they'll do with that. So,
and like what kind of budget as well, because I feel like that kind of thing needs a budget, and I can't imagine Rob Zombie handling like a massive budget on a movie.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Someone's going to throw money at it, aren't they? So
yeah, it says apparently online. It says that the theatrical release will also be streamed on Peacock, which is the NBC Universal streaming platform that we have over here.
Yeah,
but it's also going for a theatrical release.
Right. Okay.
Interesting. He's going to write it as well.
Yeah. So he's been like wanting to do it for like 20 years.
Right.
He's had it sort of as an idea that he'd really like to sort of, because nothing has been done with that I know of. There's been, obviously there was Addams Family films and that long after the TV series. Although they were still, Addams Family films were like early 90s, weren't they? Mid 90s, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was, I think the original Addams Family series was around a similar time, I believe, to the Munsters in the 60s, 70s.
Yeah, like it was. And I think, if anything, I don't know about you, but I think I remember the Munsters more than I remember.
I do. I used to enjoy the Munsters more than I did the Addams Family films, but series. But yeah, so no, I'm really excited about that. It could be good. Who knows?
Definitely.
Yeah. What's the other little nugget I've got for you? Oh yes,
you've got a lot of nuggets, haven't you?
This one.
I love gold nuggets. This one's a keeper.
This one I think you're going to really like. So, it has been announced that a Kingpin sequel is in the works from the Farrelly brothers.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. So
just when I thought I was Munsoned out in the middle of nowhere, you go and pull out a fact like that.
That's it, exactly. So if you don't know, the original Kingpin film starred Woody Harrelson, and he was like a bowling prodigy called Roy Munson. And he, like, it shows you in the film that he was like tricked into doing a job that left him with a crippled hand for the rest of his life, so he couldn't bowl anymore. And he sort of, he was down and out. He was an alcoholic and stuff. And then he stumbles across an Amish bowling phenom, Ishmael, played by Randy Quaid, and they go on like a bowling road trip, don't they?
Yeah.
It's also got Bill Murray in it, who plays
Big Ern McCracken.
Yeah, with his amazing like comb over, and he's just like this really cocky asshole that's a really good bowler, and they go head to head in this bowling competition. It's just a great Farrelly Brothers comedy. It's just really good. So again, there's no script, there's no cast announced, anything like that, but it's in active development with the Farrellys producing at the very least.
Yeah.
So
wow, that's wild, because you'd think after Dumb and Dumber 2 that they may have kind of thought we're not going to try. Maybe they're going to give it to some other directors, but it would be amazing to see Roy Munson like bang up to speed. I can't imagine them bringing Randy Quaid back because he's become a little bit problematic, so to speak. But maybe like
stick his Amish beard back on. And his straw hat.
Amish beard.
And his straw hat.
Yeah. What you doing in there, Mr. Munson? Barfing. Barfing? Where the hell I get Munson from? I love it. What a show. Sounds good.
So yeah, that was two exciting, step ups in original things that I think we both like. Definitely.
Yeah. I'm up for both of those.
Good. What have you got for me?
What have I got for you? Well, Phil, if I told you, and this is you're gonna like this.
Okay.
What if I told you that John Garrett was returning?
John Garrett.
What would you?
I'd say who the fuck
would you say?
Who's John Garrett?
Would you say who the fuck is John Garrett? Is that what you just said? Well, Phil,
this is someone I should know, isn't it?
100%, because John Garrett will ultimately save us all. John Garrett, of course, was Gerard Butler's character from the amazing apocalypse movie Greenland that came out end of last year.
That was his character name. Okay, all right. I'm not quite as.
I didn't even know it. I didn't even know it. I was just trying to catch you out.
Okay.
But I bring you the news that Rick Romanois has confirmed he will return to direct the sequel called Greenland Migration.
All right.
And so, spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't seen the first Greenland, but go and watch it. The original saw Gerard Butler's John Garrett and his family, including his wife Alison, played by Miranda Bakarin, trying to reach the safety of a bunker in Greenland when a comet threatens the Earth. And in the follow-up, again written by the same writer, John and Alison and their family must leave the bunker and embark on a perilous journey across the decimated, frozen wasteland of Europe to find a new home. So basically, we had, I guess we had Armageddon with the first one, and now we have The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, I was just about to say, this is basically Armageddon into Day After Tomorrow. Wait a minute,
but there's something neither of those films had. Neither of them had Gerard Butler in there punching a meteor in the face and telling it to play a game of fuck off and you go first.
There's still time. There's still time.
Maybe they're going to go to Sparta. Maybe they're going to Sparta.
He's going to kick it down a well. He's going to kick that meteor down a giant well.
Yeah. That's Sparta.
Yeah. Greenland.
Kick it down.
And he kicks it.
This is Greenland. Love that. But how on board are you for that?
I'm very on board. I think that was both one of our sort of surprise hits of last year.
100%.
Um,
100%.
it's it's not going to win any awards. Let's put it that way. It
Well,
wasn't like
I mean,
an
it's going to win
amazing
all
film.
of my awards.
Yeah,
I've got all the awards for it.
All of the Movie Mouth awards.
Yeah,
it's going to win them. Yeah, so
that's planning on shooting next year, and the rights to distribute the movie are currently up for sale and are going to be pitched at the next week's Cannes virtual market. So we'll find out who's going to pick that one up.
Should we bid?
Amazon had some kind of release with it, so maybe they did. Maybe we could buy it.
We could bid. Yeah, I've got like a $5 and a packet of Skittles. What you got?
They could do that. You've got
lots of gold-plated things, haven't you?
I've got half a Heineken and air conditioning that isn't working very well right now.
But you've got things that look expensive because they're all gold.
Well, they're not gold. They're just
not actual
some
gold, but
either coloured to look like gold or they're gold plated.
Like gold plated, yeah. But
with the least amount of actual gold. Yeah,
I think we can convince people. We'll be right.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Here's this old Gretsch guitar and half a Heineken and a packet of Skittles and a $5. Can we have Greenland Migration, please?
Yeah.
Thanks, Rick.
Movie Mouth distribution.
Yeah. Also, can I take the role of John Garrett, please? I'd like to play him, and Phil's going to play the wife.
I'm going to play the meteor.
Oh, you're playing the wife.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, this is, the 21st century, man. You can play whoever the hell you want.
That's true.
So there we go. Some more positive news for the cinema industry, Philip.
Mm.
A Quiet Place Part 2 this week that we reviewed on the previous episode posted that it's made more than $178 million at the global box office.
Wow.
So which is great. So post-pandemic, I mean, it's still not, $1 billion, which, it could be probably at 500 million by now if it was pre-pandemic times, but it's still very encouraging, and it shows that there is life in the old cinema dog yet. So that's good to see. It's also going to be coming to VOD internationally soon, so you'll be able to watch A Quiet Place Part 2. And then it's also going to be streaming here on Paramount Plus in the US, which is a subscription. So that will be coming on there soon. And in other A Quiet Place news, this is awesome. They've actually just announced that they're going to produce a third installment, this being a spin-off installment, which will not be directed by the original star, in this case, John Krasinski, who directed both movies and wrote both movies.
Mm-hmm.
He has written a kind of story for the spin-off, and he confirmed this week that it's going to be written and directed by one of my absolute favorite up-and-coming directors, Jeff Nichols, who, for those of you that remember, directed Take Shelter with Michael Shannon, Loving with Joel Edgerton, Midnight Special with Adam Driver, and Mud with Matthew McConaughey, which was a brilliant movie. Heavily influenced by Spielberg, very Spielbergian in his kind of direction. And that's going to be coming out, I'd probably say, 2-3 years, I would say, from now.
Yeah.
But apparently the first draft has just been turned in by Jeff Nichols, and according to John Krasinski, it's amazing.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you need to go back and watch those two movies if you haven't seen them. I need to watch
I haven't seen any of them, but after your review, I did say to myself, I do want to watch them because they sound really good.
Put them to the top of your list. Brilliant.
Yeah, I've only heard good
things.
Both
really, really good. Yeah, so really looking forward to this. So that was great. So Phil, let's jump into some trailers. What trailers have you seen this week? I hear you got some interesting ones for us.
I do. So the first one is the new Ryan Reynolds comedy actioner, Free Guy, which is coming out on August 13th. And it's directed by Sean Levy, who he directed quite a few episodes of Stranger Things, and he did Night at the Museum, Real Steel, and quite a lot of big budget stuff. So this is about Ryan Reynolds. He plays a bank teller called Guy, funny enough, and he realizes he is a background character in an open world video game called Free City that will soon go offline.
What, so like a GTA Grand Theft Auto type?
Yeah. So it's like
online.
A violent sort of online video game. So basically what it is, this is like, this is the film that would pop out, right? If The Truman Show, Ready Player One, and They Live had a baby. And I say They Live because in order to see that it's a game, he has to put on like these sunglasses.
No.
So, yeah. So like, it looks like it could be bad, but also it looks like it could be a lot of fun. There's some quite funny bits in the trailer, just like really out there sort of CGI stuff in the trailer, because it's a game, they've got sort of free reign to sort of do what they want. So yeah, it's basically Truman Show crossed with like Ready Player One. It's really weird. But it looks like it could be good fun. I don't know. You haven't seen the trailer at all for this one then?
I saw a trailer a while ago, like over 6 months ago, but not a recent trailer.
Yeah, because if it's out in August, it's not too long. But yeah, so it looks like your typical Ryan Reynolds role, to be honest. Like, he's playing that sort of goofy, sort of straight, like
snarky.
Yeah, just but he's also playing this really like he's in the trailer. He's a really nice guy. He doesn't believe anything. He's really helpful, and he's like over the top helpful as a game character type thing. So yeah, it looks like
sounds a bit like the Lego Movie,
Yeah, it's a weird concept, but I'm up for it. I'm up for giving that a go. It looks like a good fun one. Yeah,
it's coming on Netflix, right? Is it Netflix in August?
I don't think it's Netflix. No, I can't remember where it was. I think it was. I'll try and find out.
Okay.
And then the other film trailer that I've got for you.
Go on.
And I actually changed the trailer that I had written down originally for this because this came out only like a couple of days ago, this trailer. So this is for a film called Pig. Now, I really hope you haven't heard of this, but it is it's the new Nicolas Cage film.
I haven't heard of this. I avoided it after you mentioned it because I like to get your spin on these things.
Brilliant. Okay. So it's the new Nicolas Cage film. Now, let me just in 2 lines summarize the plot for you, okay? And then I just want to see what you think. A truffle hunter who lives alone in the Oregonian wilderness must return to his past in Portland in search of his beloved foraging pig after she is kidnapped.
Sold.
I mean, yeah. I suggest you do go and watch the trailer. I should suggest that everyone goes and watch the trailer.
What happens in the trailer? Talk us through it.
He's he's like living a happy life in the wilderness with his pig, finding truffles. And then it gets kidnapped.
The pig,
and it's got one of the most unexpected jumps in the trailer that really made me jump. The pig gets kidnapped. So his truffle pig gets kidnapped.
Right.
And then he goes on like and he sort of goes on like a John Wick revenge mission after he's trying to find his pig.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. But he looks crazy in this. He's got like this like straggly hair, like a big beard. He looks like a tramp, basically.
Beardy weirdy.
And he really loves his pig.
Oh.
And it's just Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage.
Are you high right now? I just want to ask if you're high right now.
I'm not. I swear to you, I've not just made up the plot of this film. But it is called Pig. And it's out on the 16th of July. Starring Nicolas Cage.
16th of July?
Yeah.
Let me guess, it's going video on demand.
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's a Nicolas Cage film, and it's a new Nicolas Cage film.
Now that DVDs don't exist, it's going to go straight to video on demand. It will be available everywhere. You'll have to pay $16.99 for the pleasure of watching it.
To watch it in 5D.
That sounds amazing. I'm going to have to watch that. Just to confirm, by the way, Free Guy, you're absolutely right. It's only in theaters from August the 13th, 2021.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay, good.
So that's coming out. By the way, it's got a great cast. Jodie Comer's in that as well, which is going to be good. Taika Waititi is always good. So it sounds good on paper, but it's just high concept comedy with high budget. Usually don't work out.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like Land of the Lost, Evan Almighty, all flops.
Yeah, true. What about Bruce Almighty? That worked quite well, right?
Wasn't as high concept, high budget as Evan Almighty. It was like $100 million or something.
Yeah, I suppose not.
I think this will be a hit. I feel like this is going to be a hit. I mean, Ryan Reynolds is
everyone loves Ryan Reynolds.
Hot right now. Yeah.
That
Hansel's so hot right now. Great. Sounds good. Two amazing movies, to be honest. I want to watch both of them. So I'm in. So for me, I actually switched it up this week. I saw a TV show trailer, and check out this cast. Okay. So Paul Rudd, not Paul Rudd, but Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell, Catherine Hahn, and they are starring in Apple TV's new show called The Shrink Next Door, which is written by the writer of Succession, Veep, and The Thick of It, or one of the writers from those, which is some of my absolute favorite TV shows, meaning it's going to be really barbed, farcical, intelligent. Basically, it's a kind of reverse of the What About Bob story, and apparently it's based on a true story. It sees Paul Rudd as a psychiatrist who is basically seeing Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell's paying him for his psychiatric help.
Yeah.
And apparently Marty, who's the patient, starts to have his life kind of turned around by this therapy. And as the therapy works, he starts trusting the therapist, Paul Rudd, more. And ultimately, Paul Rudd starts taking over the patient, Will Ferrell's life. So it's kind of set over 30 years. So it's going to be like through a time span of quite a few decades, and we're going to see them age and grow. The trailer, most of the trailer that we see, if you look it up on IMDb or wherever, it's mostly set in, it looks like kind of 1980s New York.
Okay.
So it's like lots of like thick, like wiry frame glasses and like old police cars and all that kind of thing.
Oh, cool.
But I'm guessing it's going to jump ahead, but they didn't show any of that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. That looks.
I'm
really
assuming
good.
it's a comedy, right, with those guys in it.
It is. It looks like a kind of indie type comedy, and no doubt it's going to take a while to get going. You know, I think it will probably be, a bit like Succession, which was also, to be honest, when I first sat down to watch Succession, I wasn't sure if that was a comedy, and then eventually it kind of opens up and becomes quite fun. But it looks really bizarre. That comes out. It's a little while off yet, but it comes out on Friday, November the 12th. This year on Apple TV Plus, who are starting to churn out some interesting content finally. So keep your eyes peeled for that one.
That sounds really cool.
All right, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of an Anchorman reunion as well with Rudd and Ferrell. So always
brilliant.
Yes, indeed. That's the show next door.
I feel like I should mention. I said I was going to replace it, but I am going to put this one in there. Another trailer quickly. So I'll do this very quickly. But I think the cast is too good to sort of like just wipe it off. And it comes out quite soon. So there's a film called No Sudden Move. I don't know if you've seen this one. Check this cast out. Don Cheadle, Benicio del Toro, Ray Liotta, Brendan Fraser, John Hamm, among lots of other people. And it's the new Steven Soderbergh directed film. Yeah. So it's set in 1954 Detroit, where some small-time criminals are hired to steal a document. The heist goes wrong, and then they basically search for who hired them and why. And it looks like a sort of. It looks light-hearted but serious as well. But it looks like there's going to be some good comedy in it as well. But really good cast, and it looks from a really good director. I like a lot of stuff that Steven Soderbergh's done. Ocean's 11, Solaris, and the Che films and Magic Mike, all that all that stuff. So
you're a big fan of Magic Mike, weren't you?
I loved a bit of Magic Mike. But he's done a lot of good stuff, Steven Soderbergh. But
Magic Mike is actually a great film.
Yeah,
it's actually a great film.
Yeah.
But that was the most uncomfortable eye staring that we've ever done after both admitting to that. It was like we were both in Nam, wasn't it? You could hear the screams. I could hear the wow, 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 wow. I could see Magic Mike with a blowtorch in one hand and sparks flying all over the place. And I could see you enjoying it, and I could see me enjoying it, and we both looked at each other, and we both feel really uncomfortable now. That's basically what just happened.
That is what happened. But yes, No Sudden Move, out July 1st on HBO Max. Looks really good.
Oh, it's HBO Max. Awesome. And that's cool as well to hear that Soderbergh's returning to heist thriller as well.
Yeah.
After, as you said, Ocean's 11 and 12 and the other one. Oh, that's right.
And 13. The other one. Yeah.
But no, like that does look good. I saw the trailer for it actually.
Yeah.
It does look interesting. I love Don Cheadle. Hopefully he doesn't do a Mockney fake English accent in this one. Oh yeah, the old apples and pears. Yeah,
apples and pear or Ruby Murray. It was really terrible, that, wasn't it?
It was really bad.
Only bad things about the Oceans films.
Really bad.
Well, the first two, but yeah. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Nicely done, Phil. All right. Well, let's jump into the reviews this week. We've got quite a few big reviews coming out, but I'll start off with the only theatrical review of this week's episode. That is In the Heights. This is the new film, or should we say adaptation, of his 2005 stage musical from Hamilton writer, director, star, and genius, yes, I wrote that in caps, Lin-Manuel Miranda, and it's directed by John M. Chu, who you will remember as the director of the massively successful Crazy Rich Asians, which came out a few years ago, which was just massive. So those two amazing superpowers combine here for this musical. In the Heights centers on a variety of characters living in the neighborhood of Washington Heights on the northern tip of Manhattan. At the center of the movie is Uznavi, who's played here by newcomer Anthony Ramos, a bodega owner who looks after the aging Cuban lady next door, pines for the gorgeous girl working in the neighboring beauty salon, and dreams of winning the lottery and escaping to the shores of his native Dominican Republic. Meanwhile, Nina, a childhood friend of Uznavi's, has returned to the neighborhood from her first year at college with surprising news for her parents, who have spent their life savings on building a better life for their daughter. Ultimately, Uznavi and the residents of the close-knit neighborhood get a dose of what it means to be home. So, for those of you who have seen Hamilton on stage or on Disney Plus, which is available to watch now, and if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's brilliant. You won't be surprised to hear that this follows a similar formula. It's songs and dialogue performed in a rhythmic rap verse, which allows our cast to spit bars and convey their thoughts in a relatable musical delivery, especially for modern audiences. The tone is really light, but the setting is claustrophobic, barely leaving the Washington Heights neighborhood except for a one-off mission downtown. And the plot is built around a heat wave in the New York area and counters down to a climatic power blackout, which may or may not turn the neighborhood on its head. One thing that should be addressed carefully in the conversation about casting on this. So the cast is made up entirely of wonderful Latin American performers. However, recently there has been questions around the cast appearing to exclude or not represent the large Afro-Caribbean community who reside in Washington Heights. Many apologies have been made by Lin-Manuel Miranda, a Latino himself. However, it does show how significantly times have changed over the last few years when it comes to racial representation and equality in filmmaking. Here, with a filmmaker who is actually trying to represent his own ethnicity, but still not quite getting it right.
Yeah.
So I will leave that to one side, and I'm going to focus purely on the film.
Sure.
In the Heights has some amazingly catchy musical numbers, a cast who shines, and some genuinely heartfelt and inspiring moments. It's very saccharine, it's very sugary, it's very fireworks and fun. It's not for the cynics, but it's newcomer Anthony Ramos here taking the lead as bodega owner Uznavi. He's such a fresh talent. His skill in making us sympathetic with his character, who has a desire for more in his life, for the heart of Vanessa, who's this girl that keeps coming to the store that doesn't, barely notices him. We really and genuinely want to see Uznavi succeed, and we kind of rise and fall with him through the story until the finale. This is not my usual kind of movie. However, after 18 plus months of the global pandemic, it's exactly the kind of message we should all be tuning into. Being good to others, close with family, following our dreams. It may be saccharine, innocent, a little bit naive, but at the end of the day, it's the type of musical that we all kind of need in our lives at the moment. So don't be so fucking cynical. Get your dancing shoes on. Get to your local movie theater for a bit of fun and vibrance that we've all been missing really for so long, and have a few drinks and just go along with it. In the Heights is available in cinemas and at home on HBO Max now. Go check it out.
Brilliant. Sounds good. I'm up for a dance. Yeah, I'll give it a go.
Little song and a dance. I have to say, honestly, since I saw it, I've had the In the Heights theme, the first song in that, in my head constantly. I haven't been able to get it out of my head. It's not my kind of music, kind of salsa and Latin rhythms and that kind of thing. But I really enjoyed the score, and the songs are really, really good. And
catchy number.
Very catchy. And as I said, like if you like Hamilton, you're going to love this. It's not as historically, entwined into a source material. This has a little bit more flexibility to do whatever it wants. And it's really visually stunning as well. I didn't mention in the review, but In the Heights, I really enjoyed it. And, furore aside around, the casting conversation, genuinely think it's worth a watch. So
brilliant.
There you go. Philip,
Cool.
What have you been watching? You've been sitting at home watching things, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I've been watching a television series.
Oh, tell me more.
So, yes, this is the Netflix's new apocalyptic fantasy series, Sweet Tooth, season 1. It's based on a comic book of the same name by Jeff Lemire, and is described by some, and I'd say this is pretty accurate, as Mad Max meets Bambi.
Wait, what?
Yeah. It's also, so this is executive produced by Susan Downey, as well as her slightly known husband, Robert Downey Jr.
Oh.
You may know. So yeah, they're both executive producers on this. I've watched the first 3 episodes of this. And I am, unlike a lot of, we try on the Movie Mouth not to spoil things, but it's very, very difficult for me to talk about this show, and especially the first episode, without spoiling part of it.
Okay.
I guess spoiling it, because it's the first episode is like just one massive like plot setup. So you might want to at least watch the first episode of this before you listen to the rest of the review. But if not, if you're happy to go ahead, as I said, it's only the first episode that sort of spoils anything. But yeah, so fair warning I've given you there. So to set the scene, Sweet Tooth is set 10 years after a mysterious virus has swept the globe.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Well,
not again.
Humanity has descended into utter chaos, and almost everyone has turned into an arsehole. Is this sounding depressingly similar or familiar?
It does sound very accurate.
Yeah.
Especially the arsehole part.
Well, this is where it changes, right? So at the same time as The Sick, as they call it, appeared, all human babies started being born as animal hybrids.
This better not be an anti-vaccination message, I swear to God.
Like a really elaborate one over a whole series. So, yeah, it sounds odd, right? So every human baby is born as a animal hybrid. And it sounds odd, and that's because it is. So, so in the first episode, we see how the virus and the virus hybrid situation unfolded, and see how the world has turned to utter shit. We meet baby human deer hybrid Gus, played by Christian Convery, and his father Pubba, played by Will Forte, who you may well know.
Love Will Forte.
Yeah, he's brilliant. And watch as they make a home in the forest inside the Yellowstone National Park. We see him grow up over the next 10 years. He learns to, fish and tap maple trees for syrup, hence the nickname and the show's title. His antlers grow along with his deer-like tendencies, and they generally seem to be, having a good time, shielded from all the danger that's outside of their, immediate area. This soon changes, however, when they are spotted by one of the real men, as they call them, which are a group of violent militia that, always seem to feature in a post-apocalyptic drama. You always get like this crazy group of arseholes. Yeah, basically.
Please tell me they don't roast any babies on a campfire like we saw in The Road.
Not so far. Although surely you'd be more likely to if they were like an animal hybrid. They might be a bit more tasty.
They're like, oh, venison, wonderful.
Yeah. So yeah, they are a group of militia, and they basically think that the hybrids are the ones to blame for the virus.
Okay.
And they're sort of intent on hunting them down and killing most of them. Now, again, spoiler warning, Pubba is injured and then succumbs to the sick. And again, this is all within like the first sort of 20 minutes, half an hour of the first episode, okay? And whilst he's defending the home from an attack that happens, Gus fends for himself, or tries to, and he's not very good at it. And that is until he's saved from another guy, another real man, as they call him, who is called Jep, and he's played by Nonso Anozie. Jep,
oh yeah, he's awesome. I like him.
Brilliant.
He was in that really bad movie that we watched, which I will remember later.
Okay,
but he's a great actor.
Yeah, he's great in this. So Jep reluctantly becomes his protector, and the rest of the series seems to be it's structured around their sort of road trip across the US to Colorado, where Gus hopes to find his mother. So there's a couple of side stories set up in the first, as I said, I've watched the first three, and there's a couple of side stories set up that are intertwined throughout the first three episodes, and sort of start gaining a bit of traction. The first being of Dr. Singh, played by Adil Akhtar, who you may know, and he's attempting to prolong the life of his wife, who's been like a long-term sufferer of the sick, and is being helped by a secret serum which he needs to work out how to produce when his supply runs low. Now, I must say, my initial thought of this, because I knew nothing about it when I started watching it. You suggested, try this series. It looked cool. I like the sort of, apocalyptic fantasy stuff. I thought, as soon as it starts and it's about a global like pandemic where everyone starts dying, I was like, oh bloody hell, do we really need a show based around a virus that's wiped out the population right now? But I will say that I've really enjoyed the first three episodes. It's not without its faults. But there are some really nice visuals in it. Good CGI work. Some beautiful, because it's, as I said, it's set around that sort of Yellowstone National Park, but there's a lot of like apocalyptic visuals, decayed buildings and stuff. Just some really nice looking CGI stuff. Lots of nice sort of, it's gritty, and but it's got lots of nice touches of humor. And although it's probably aimed at an audience on the younger side of things, it still can be pretty violent in places as well. Performance wise, I think Christian Convery, who plays Gus, is really good. And for an 11-year-old, his acting credits are ridiculously impressive already. If you look him up on IMDb, he's starred alongside some very good actors. And he's really good. I like watching the on-screen relationship between him and Jep, because they just like, he's just really annoyed by this annoying kid who doesn't know how to function. He's a kid with antlers and deer ears, and he just doesn't know how to, because he's been living in the forest his entire life. He just doesn't know how to function, especially when they travel out of the forest and, get into places where everyone is basically programmed to hate the hybrid kids. So yeah, it's really interesting watching their relationship. So yeah, you can just see the exasperation pouring off of Jep when he's on the road with him. I've still got some reservations about how the series will pan out, but I'll definitely be carrying on. And I think it's 8 episodes in the first season. Yeah. So if you can overcome the fact that you're watching a show about a subject that hits pretty close to home at the moment, but with some fantasy thrown in, I would urge you to give it a go. Sweet Tooth Season 1 is available to stream on Netflix now.
Jolly good show. Jolly good show. I might have to watch that, old boy.
Give it a go.
I must admit, when it came to figure out who was going to review what, and as you said, I was like, do you want to check out this kids movie about a virus that sweeps over the world? And I'm going to go and watch In the Heights, a happy-go-lucky musical.
I'll take one for the Movie Mouth team.
Sounds good though. It does sound really good. So I'm definitely down to check that one out.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Phil. All right. Should we stay with the small screen? What do you think?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Why not? And why not? So, staying with the small screen, we're going to go to Disney Plus, who have just released their third Marvel MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe connected show this year. And this one is called Loki, starring Tom Hiddleston. So this follows Loki, the god of mischief, here stepping out of his brother Thor's shadow to embark on an adventure that takes place after the events of Avengers Endgame, a movie that, Phil, you still haven't seen, but the rest of the entire world has.
It's true.
The pressure is continuing to rise on this.
Yeah.
The show consists of 6 episodes, but this review focuses on just the first 2 so far, as they're releasing them every Wednesday. So unlike Sweet Tooth on Netflix, they're still dripping these out one after the other. I
think that's good.
Which is, yeah, I think
it's
so
annoying,
too.
like, because people have become impatient now. But I think they do that with like Better Call Saul on Netflix. They don't release it all at once. You got to wait a week for the next episode. And I like it. It drags it out. Otherwise, you just binge it and then it's done. But at least you get to look forward to something.
And interestingly, Disney Plus today actually said that they were releasing their episodes of, I think, The Mandalorian and the other MCU shows. They were releasing them on Fridays.
Okay.
But they said that releasing them on Wednesdays, they've actually seen something like 2.5 times the amount of people watching them.
I'm not surprised.
So yeah. So I think it's like they release something on a Friday. People are probably out. They're probably busy, you know, especially coming into a post-pandemic, you know, circumstance.
People can do stuff again. Yeah.
People can do stuff again. So these are coming out every Wednesday on Disney Plus. So Tom Hiddleston, obviously reprising his role as Loki from the film series. This also stars Gugu Mbatha-Raw, Wunmi Mosaku, Eugene Cordero, Tara Strong, Sophia DiMartino, Sasha Lane, and Owen Wilson.
Oh.
It's set in the aftermath of the Avengers stories so far, here based mainly within the 1970s aesthetic doll office of the Infinity Stoned, or should that be on steroids, Time Variance Authority, the TVA. Okay. Its storytelling is more of a comedic kind of really out there creative show. And it's mainly so far a double play between Tom Hiddleston and his captor, who here is Owen Wilson, who playing Mobius M. Mobius.
Good name.
And Owen Wilson plays this with a really kind of knowing and patronizing aesthetic when coming up against Tom Hiddleston. This is produced and directed by Kate Herron, a virtually unknown British director, real British talent, who has so far had really great form directing various episodes of Netflix's Sex Education, which if you haven't seen that, is a really good young adult series focusing on a sex therapist and her son who becomes an in-school sex therapist, which is very funny. And also the other Netflix show, which is Daybreak, a post-apocalyptic kind of show focusing again on young adults. She's directed a few of those episodes. Kate Herron, actually loved the Loki character before this. She wasn't in the running to direct it, but in listening to a rival film podcast, she actually announced that the way she got the job is she just hounded people. She wrote a 40-page notebook about all of the things that she wanted to have in the show, that she saw the character going. She met with Tom Hiddleston, and eventually Kevin Feige, who runs Marvel Studios, said, "We'll take a meeting with you." And she won the meeting, and now she directs every single episode. It's a really inspiring story. And I'll tell you what, she is crushing it. The way this is directed, the tone, the pace, the cinematics, the photography, everything, even the production value, it is brilliant. I'm really enjoying it so far. This review could focus on some key spoilers, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to simply focus on 3 things. So Kate Herron's assured directing, really stylish setting, clear talent, great visual gags, moments of awkwardness that play off really well with, Tom Hiddleston, who's also British and has that awkwardness about him when he's, found out to be wrong or whatever it may be. Tom Hiddleston delivering yet another complete performance as the sly Loki, the god of mischief. Here we see him out of his depth. We see, basically, a god from Asgard who has tried to take over Earth, as we saw in the first Avengers movie, and has gone through various motions throughout the MCU movies. We see him here, a captive, and having to coerce with an agency, an interplanetary agency, or a higher power to have to solve a crime. Okay. That's all I'm going to say.
So Silence of the Lambs meets Men in Black.
Kind of, yeah. It's very Men in Black. Men in Black. That's a very good way of putting it. But, no, that is the perfect way of summing it up. Silence of the Lambs meets Men in Black. The absolute casting masterclass of bringing in Owen Wilson as Agent Mobius, who is less than impressed by Loki's assertions of God status, kind of casting everything he says off as really puny, pathetic, or delusions of grandeur. Oh, okay, how does that work out for you? Oh, that sounds good. That kind of thing. It works really well. And just like at the end of the first Avengers movie, seeing Loki be demeaned, talked down to, or utterly impotent is where Tom Hiddleston really comes alive with that pomposity, and that's, I think, where the secret of Loki's success, not just in the show, but I think as a character who essentially was a villain and has now become the kind of foil for this show. So far, Kevin Feige and Marvel have given us the puzzle book of WandaVision, the often muddled but fun Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But it's with Loki where the true difference between Marvel adventures on the small screen can really excel, tying us clearly into the overarching MCU plotline, which is really important here, with little cast-offs, little jokes, little side, things that you see and you're like, oh, okay, that's that now. That's what happened. And also in Loki, they give us more of what we want from the characters that we love, seeing more of them in an environment that will get the best out of them. And for that reason, Loki gets a massive recommendation from me. And it's available globally every Wednesday for 6 episodes, 2 out already, on Disney+. Go check it out, Marvel fans.
Cool. I better watch Endgame first.
I think you should watch them all again.
The problem is...
all of them again.
The problem I've got is that, I do want to watch them, and I will, but I'm just getting never-endingly buried in a pile of Marvel that just keeps getting released, and I just can't. I can't catch up.
The more you watch Once Upon a Time in Mexico or Commando, the more you're getting buried. It's basically what you're saying.
You shut up! I wanted to watch. I wanted to watch Commando.
Love it.
Yeah,
but you should catch up. Loki's really good. It's got a real the stylistic nature to it, like the little physical gags, little things like that. This whole weird, surreal TVA setting. It's really cool, man. It's a good show. Go check it out, everybody. All right, Phil. I think it's time for this. Hello there. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I'm
Am I working in the shop or are you coming in?
I don't know.
Oh, we've not discussed this at all, have we?
Maybe we both work here. It's our first day and we're unsure.
Okay. Like that time
where's your uniform in that case? If we both work here, where's your uniform? I've got a name badge on.
I'm too new. It's my first day.
Oh no, you do have a name badge. What does it say? Riley Hale. Can you see mine?
Hey, what does yours say? Yours says Vic Deakins.
You can call me Deek.
Deek. Okay, cool. You can call me Hale.
Oh,
Deacon Hale.
All right. I'm punching out. Deacon Hale. Big old Deek.
Oh.
So I would like to rent something.
Right.
And I think this week, as part of this weird video store corner sensation that seems to happen on the Movie Mouth podcast, I feel like this week it ties into our last Movie Mouth podcast special, which was the Rock 25th anniversary, available now on all good podcast players of your choice. Yes, I would like to rent the 1996 John Woo cinematic action masterpiece, Broken Arrow.
Broken Arrow.
Have you got it?
I've got it. I do.
Oh, thank God.
We do have it. You can watch it at your leisure. Do you know what? Right. I'm going to say.
If you say you've never seen this,
I honestly swear to God, when you said let's do Broken Arrow for Video Store Corner, I said, oh yeah, I think I've seen that. I was sure that I'd seen it at some point, but I couldn't remember much about it. Right. Having watched it for this, I can tell you now, I've definitely not seen it.
Wow.
Which I was shocked by.
Wow.
Like, I'm sure I'd seen it. Like, I knew about it. I knew who was in it, but I'd never seen it.
Don't tell me your reactions to it yet.
No, I won't.
I want to get to that.
Okay.
But wow, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Because for me, this is another one. This was like The Rock. It was like Mortal Kombat. It was like all these movies that came out mid-90s.
Yeah.
That I absolutely love.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, also 25 years old, must be celebrating its 25th anniversary this year as well.
It's crazy. Don't, because you're just aging me. Phil, tell us about the plot.
Well, okay, I can sum this up quite quickly. Major Vic Deakins, that's John Travolta, holds the US government to ransom by stealing a nuclear warhead and threatening to detonate it in a major city. His co-pilot, played by Christian Slater, Riley Hale, and a park ranger, played by Samantha Mathis, attempt to thwart his plans. Now, there's a lot more to go into on this, so I'm going to let you. I'm going to set you off because you know this film.
The first thing I would say about that plot summary is how similar it sounds to the other masterpiece.
Yeah,
The Rock.
Well, this is the thing, right? One of my main observations for this film is that it is The Rock, but not as good. Right? But it's still, right, I'm not saying it's not good.
I mean, whoa there.
But it was also released in 1996. It's got a Hans Zimmer soundtrack, which is really good, by the way. Really good. You know, and the music's used in the same way as it is in The Rock. It's really loud, over like the action, like used in exactly the same way. It's about someone in the military that has stolen missiles. It also features, you must have picked this up, but it also features Raymond Cruz, and he plays, people might recognize him as Tuco Salamanca from Breaking Bad. But he also plays he plays a good guy, like an American officer in this very small part, but he was in The Rock as well as one of the the military guys, but one of the bad mercenaries, wasn't he?
Yep.
So I thought that was a pretty cool Rock Broken Arrow link going on.
He's actually the same character. It's a shared universe.
Yeah. And then the last thing, this also involves someone dying in a hilarious way that's exactly the same as The Rock as well.
Almost exactly the same as The Rock. But let's come on to that.
Let's come on to that.
But let's come on to it.
Yeah, I did.
Because I've got a lot to say about that.
Me too. I wasn't going to blurt that one out.
Don't be such a dummy, Phil. We'll come on to that later.
Yes.
So this basically, we see John Travolta as Vic Deakins and Christian Slater as Riley Hale. They're kind of an odd couple pairing, aren't they? Their characters are very well defined. Vic Deakins is the kind of all-knowing major who is the kind of chief pilot of the B-3 bomber that they fly across the Utah desert late at night for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
To avoid the scanners of Delroy Lindo. And Christian Slater is Riley Hale. He is the kind of co-pilot. He's also, not as well decorated, exonerated as John Travolta's character. Mm-hmm. And John Travolta is constantly trying to teach him lessons, isn't he? Like from the
Putting him down all the time, isn't he? He's
puts him down from the outset. He's an arrogant, some would say narcissist.
He's a prick,
and he's an absolute prick. John Travolta in this, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's an absolute prick.
Massive prick.
Which one of the characters do you think I'd be, and which one do you think you'd be, Phil?
Do we really need to say?
Moving on. So,
but let's put it this way: I would beat you in a boxing match, which would go against the character description.
No, I do the rope-a-dope on you, mate. There's no way you'd
the rope-a-dope. It's true. You might do the rope-a-dope on me,
and then I'd smoke cigarettes and blow them in your face in the locker room afterwards.
It starts all Top Gun, doesn't it? This film.
It's very Top Gun. I tell you what I do like. Speaking of top, I like the top-down view of the camera as it descends.
That was
over the ring
cool. That was really cool. Yeah.
As they're boxing, and you've got the black outline of the ring, and it's just coming in, and it's cutting to them punching, and John Woo does a good visual, some good visuals on this.
Mm-hmm.
It was on a $50 million budget, so there's some good effects in it. There's a lot of model work as well in this.
Mm-hmm.
But we see them having this great boxing fight where you know.
You say great, but it doesn't look that good, does it?
No, it doesn't look that. It doesn't look that good. It's just they're talking a lot.
Yeah,
you never really see boxers talking, do you? And they're talking a lot that whole time.
Yeah, they're talking a lot. Yeah,
but this starts out with this $20 wager that they seem to have throughout the whole film, and he puts $20 on it, and he loses his money. Then it cuts to the locker room where we see Christian Slater is kind of just fresh out of the shower, and he takes his $20 note over to Deakins. And we just see Vic Deakins, John Travolta, in a cloud of smoke, just blowing his cigarette smoke, ash breath all over the locker room. People are showering and they've just finished sport. He's like smoking all over the place.
He smokes,
and
it's like throughout the entirety of this film. Like he's constantly smoking, John Travolta.
Yeah. I feel like he was like sponsored by Big Tobacco or something, or like
something like that. But they never do. I thought they must mention a brand of cigarette at some point during this because it's, but they don't.
He mentions a brand of something, but we'll come on to that.
He does, yeah. But he also holds his cigarette in the strangest way I've ever seen someone hold a cigarette. He sticks out. He's holding it, but he sticks out his little finger all the time.
He does.
He
does like
it's between his two fingers. But with his thumb up, so he's doing like the metal sign, but with he's basically doing the metal horns, but with the cigarette like between between two fingers.
Yeah, this explanation works really well on podcasts. I can tell you that.
Yeah, we should. We are actually both doing it right now.
We're both doing it. We're both talking to each other while doing it, and we look completely insane.
Yeah,
but we just look like we're sniffing.
Screenshot this.
What I would say.
I'm gonna do it.
All right, we'll put that on our Instagram.
Yeah.
But what I would say is that if you want to know what this is about, go watch the movie. If you haven't seen Broken Arrow and you want to know how John Travolta smokes cigarettes, watch Broken Arrow right now.
It's worth watching it just for
But we find out this bet. He takes the $20. I love how Christian Slater walks up to John Travolta and he takes the $20 note out of his pocket, and he's like, you won this one, Deke. He's like, hey, you won this one, and he's like, oh, I don't keep your money. He's like, it's not my money. I stole it out of your wallet when you're in the shower.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you're just like, these two, like they're going to banter. We then see them in a briefing room, and for no apparent reason, they jump into a bomber plane and fly through the desert to try and avoid the scans. It's like a test flight. And they have again, for no reason, 2 nuclear warheads on a test flight where they're trying to avoid scanners.
Yeah.
Which they then fly through. Effects are awesome, aren't they?
Yeah, actually quite good. Yeah. Considering the age. Yeah, they are actually pretty good in some ways. No, they are. Like there's some really good scenes where they sort of cut to the exterior of the bomber and they zoom into the cockpit and they're sort of both in there, it's not just like some dummies or anything. It's like, it looks good. Sort of.
We'll get to that. But yeah, no, I do love the effects in that. And then of course, they end up having a fight in the cockpit.
Well, that's because Deakins turns, doesn't he? He changes.
Deakins just turns. Like they're having like a normal conversation, and then John Travolta like looks at him, doesn't he? And it's like this close up zoom into
the most incredible thing that I laughed at. It's like
Nosferatu.
Yes. It's like it just zooms in like really quickly onto John Travolta's eyes, and you can see he's now evil.
He is. He just changed.
You're like,
turns,
oh no,
doesn't he?
Deakins, what have you done?
Yeah.
Betrayal.
And he's like,
eyes.
take a look out of the old window there. Is that mountain range supposed to be on the other side? And Christian Slater's just like, what? And he like looks out the window. And as he looks, this dumb Christian Slater looks out the window, his dumb face looking out the window. We see John Travolta pull out the shiniest pistol that you could ever see. Yeah, you don't want to be concealing a shiny pistol like that because and obviously Christian Slater clearly sees this extra shiny pistol that John Travolta's had in the reflection in the window, and he kind of turns to stop him as John Travolta's about to blow his brains out, and they have a big scuffle, a big fight, and eventually John Travolta overpowers him and ejects Christian Slater out of the plane, and then steals the plane, drops the nukes, and they land safely somewhere. Yeah. Oh no, they don't. He doesn't drop them, does he? They're in the wreckage, aren't they? Oh no, he ejects them.
No, he ejects them, yeah, and they parachute down, don't they?
We're made to believe they're in the wreckage.
Yes.
So he ejects out Slater, he ejects out the nukes, and then he mutters the immortal line, I'm punching out, Hale's lost it, and then blames it on Christian Slater, and then ejects himself, and that's where the plot then begins.
Wow. What a first 10 minutes there is.
Exhilarating, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're exhilarated by that.
A lot happens in the first 10
minutes. They don't
make
movies like that anymore. As simple as that.
They could just roll the credits after that.
They could.
They could have done. It'll be fine.
I'm glad they didn't.
No, me too. Me too.
So we see John Travolta landing to safety. We see the nukes landing to safety. John Travolta then teams up with a group of mercs and money people who want the nukes in order to sell them and not actually detonate them.
Yeah.
And we also see Christian Slater waking up in the desert, still attached to his parachute. There's a really cool scene there, actually, where he's getting dragged across the
he's
like
awake. Yeah, he wakes up and he's sort of being dragged by the desert wind by his parachute.
Yeah. But I love how he just kind of wakes up, detaches his parachute, pulls another $20 note out of his pocket, and then he puts it under a rock and goes, looks up at the sunrise and goes, "You won this round, Deke."
Like you'd do that. You wouldn't be like, "You fucking arsehole, you just ejected me out of a bomber."
He'd be like, "Where the fuck am I? What is going on?"
Yeah.
We then see Samantha Mathis, who appears, she's a kind of park ranger, isn't she?
Yeah.
What are your memories of Samantha Mathis, by the way, from the 90s?
You know exactly what my memories are.
Go on.
You know. The absolutely brilliant and absolutely awful Super Mario Brothers movie from 1992, I think, or 3.
Starring Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo. We need
to do a video store corner on that film.
Yes, we do. Coming next.
It could be next. It could be
the Mathis double bill.
Yeah. Yeah, but Pump Up the Volume, as my wife said, is like one of her favourite films. She's also in Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater as well, which is a pretty good film. I enjoy that. But yeah,
and they've got good chemistry in this, haven't they? They've got good chemistry.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, and she's really good. There's a couple of bits of trivia about her later on, which I'll just go into it now. But apparently, she did a lot of her own stunt work in this.
Oh, really?
Like she was
jumping onto the Humvee roof and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think she was quite insistent on doing a lot of her own stunt work in it. But yeah, I've got possibly a little bit more about that later on in the trivia section of the recorder.
Love it.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to know. So Samantha Mathis turns up, park ranger. Why does she pull a gun on Christian Slater? He's wearing
the military
United States Air Force, regalia, badges, stars and stripes, parachute. He's injured.
Yeah.
Why does she pull a gun on him?
Nerves, maybe. But yeah, you're right. He's clearly in the military, and he's just crash landed, and injured from a parachute fall. I don't know why. Also, why did she walk that far away from her car?
She did walk a long way from the car. She didn't just drive up to, but he was kind of on the rocks, wasn't he?
Yeah, but it took her ages to get back with him.
That's what it did. That's very true.
Bloody ages.
They have a little scuffle, don't they, in the desert,
which is quite good actually. Yeah.
We then see they kind of he kind of earns her trust. He takes the gun and she says, "Oh, it's not loaded." And then he's like, oh, whatever, it's loaded. And then he gives her the gun. He's like, would a bad guy do this? And he gives her the gun. It then cuts to, for me, what is one of the best character introductory sequences, even though he's already been introduced.
Oh, yeah.
In living history.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And that is, it cuts to one of the kind of the money men in the desert waiting with their Humvees, looking for John Travolta, for Deakins. They're at kind of an approximate rendezvous point.
Yeah.
And he says, is there any sign of Deakins? Maybe the son of a bitch is dead. We then hear what can only be described as the most echoed out additional dialogue of John Travolta saying, what a terrible thing to say. And then you hear the Hans Zimmer score with the guitar. Bang, 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 bang. Bang, 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 bang. And John Travolta appears from behind a rock and just walks in slow motion in his aviator sunglasses, seemingly unscathed from the ejection. Just walks up towards... Yeah, with a cigarette, of course, smoking a cigarette. He then walks up, like, past everyone. He doesn't even acknowledge the people that are there waiting for him.
No.
And he walks up and he almost looks directly into the camera lens during this whole scene and says, care for a Coke or something? And then he walks to the back of a Humvee, opens a flap, pulls out a Coke, and just guzzles it in the desert.
Yeah. With
the music still playing.
Yeah. I mean, he's a better time than Christian Slater, isn't he?
I mean, John Travolta came off a lot better from this movie just for that scene.
The best thing is he was hiding behind that rock.
Of course he was. He was waiting for him to say something, part. Yeah, so he could retort.
Yeah, because he is that kind of character as well.
100%.
That guy who says that line, it's like maybe he's dead or something. That's Bob
Gunton from the Shawshank Redemption.
The warden from the Shawshank Redemption.
You know what? He was obtuse in the Shawshank Redemption, and he's fucking obtuse in this as well.
Yeah, but he gets his comeuppance, doesn't he?
Yeah, Mr. Pritchard. Are you talking about Mr. Pritchard?
Mr. Pritchard. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Pritchard. Yeah. Mr. Pritchard. Hush, Mr. Pritchard. Hush.
Yeah, that's an incredible re-entrance of a character. It's amazing.
Agreed.
Yeah. While they're trying to find that bomber, by the way, just another character that I noticed. Did you notice who the radar guy was? That, along with Delroy Lindo, the Movie Mouth favorite, if we featured in so many.
Our Movie Mouth favorite, Delroy Lindo. Yeah, he's been in almost every episode, I think. We love him.
Did you notice too that it was a very, very quick cut to, like, the guy donning the radar and sort of relating back to.
I remember it was someone that I knew. Who was it?
It was the guy. It was French Stewart from Third Rock from the Sun.
Yes. Yeah.
Very brief.
Yeah.
Sir, we've got something on the radar.
He can't see it because he's got his eyes closed like the entire time.
Why are his eyes always closed in Third Rock from the Sun? Why are his eyes closed?
Don't know.
No one knows.
No.
He was also in Stargate, wasn't he?
He was in Stargate, yeah. He was.
Yeah. Another Video Store Corner review that you can go back and check out.
Brilliant.
This got some amazing stunts in it. Let's talk about the stunts for a minute.
Yeah.
This is where we see a Huey helicopter that goes after Hale.
Yeah.
It's Christian Slater. Just kind of talk us through that whole piece.
Yeah, so it's really cool. So they find out they're alive. And they order, like, Deakins orders a helicopter, doesn't he, to like take off, because they've got like helicopters and stuff, of course. Gets one to take off to like go and find them.
And you see it actually just take off right behind John Travolta.
Yeah, it's just behind them. It's really cool.
It's not green screen. It's like real.
It's properly done. Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes off, and it's like one of those quite like agile. It's really sort of agile, nimble, like helicopter, isn't it? It takes off and it goes after them, and just as Hale and the warden, what's her character name? Terry Carmichael is the character of Samantha Mathis. Just as they're getting back to her Jeep, like car, to sort of go and radio for help or whatever, the helicopter finds them. So they sort of dive, and it has this really cool scene where it sort of appears over the edge of the cliff, and then just starts peppering them with bullets, just sort of like flying right near it, takes out the car completely. They dive down behind a ravine type thing and roll down like like this hill
slope.
And then they start to climb up. It's really cool, actually, isn't it? Yeah, because then they're basically trying to fire, and they climb up this little sort of rocky rock face, and there's a gap in the rocks, and Hale's like, oh, give me a gun sort of thing. And he's trying to shoot at them, and she's
just got like a service revolver, isn't she, with like 6 bullets? It's like a 6-shooter.
Yeah, and then there's like a little gap, like it's well framed, like in the rock, isn't there? There's like a gap that you can see the helicopter through, like looking at them, and she sort of, is really brave, and she sort of just runs up there to try and distract them, saying he's like, he's not here, he's dead or whatever. And then he like does it's like, it's so John Woo, isn't it? Like, he just like, cuts him like looking down the barrel of the gun, fires it through this gap in the rock, and like manages to like take out the pilot, doesn't he, with like some amazing shot
from like 200 yards from the bottom of a ravine to the very top of it.
And then obviously causing a huge explosion, but it's really cool. It's a really good scene, actually. Really good stunt. That
outstanding, Hale. That's the spirit. I love it. I think, and also the fact that you've got that real helicopter fly, as you said, through the canyon, and it's really low to the ground in a canyon, and you can see the stunt performers are amazing. Really, like some of the last, before CGI took over, some of the last big stunts in this.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought were awesome. I really, really enjoyed them.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff.
Yeah. So we then see, obviously, they go on the trail of Deakins, who obviously picks up the nukes. There's a lot of like kind of Pentagon conversations, boardroom, war room conversations in this, like The Rock as well, aren't there?
There is, yeah, definitely. Featuring what's his name from RoboCop? The bad guy in RoboCop. I can't remember his name. It's,
Kurt.
I'll find out. No. What's his name? The bald guy. He's like an arsehole in the original RoboCop.
Yeah, he's Red Foreman from that 70s show as well.
Yes. Yeah, he is. I forgot he was in there.
Dumbass.
Give that man a hand.
It's Kurtwood Smith, I think. It just came to me.
Oh, is that his name? Okay, right. Yeah.
Kurtwood Smith. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You're right. So he's there in the Pentagon, isn't he? And you've got Frank Whaley as well. Frank Whaley is he's in that John Cusack role from Con Air. You remember when like he finds out what's going on, and he jumps in a car and he goes to the scene. And he gets all the way there, doesn't he, Frank Whaley? He figures everything out. He goes to meet Delroy Lindo. He does all that stuff. They go into the airstrip, and then when he's about to go into the field, and then story just ends.
Yeah, it's just
you never see him again.
There's no point anymore.
Yeah, he's like, I've got 6 weeks field training. He's like, oh really? He's like, yeah, I wish I was going with you. The end. And then you never see him again. It's like it's building up to him. It's reminded me of The Shining, when you see that guy that goes when the little kid Danny Torrance is doing the shine, and the guy goes to find him, and he spends the whole movie going to find him, and then Jack Nicholson just puts an axe straight through his belly, and you're like, what? What was the whole point? Yeah,
he's been on a plane, in a car, long car journey, got into some snowplow thing, turned up dead.
Same thing happens in this, except you don't even see him die. We just don't ever find out what happens.
Yeah, and you may know him. A lot of people will know him also with John Travolta in Pulp Fiction from a couple of years earlier. Yeah,
very true.
He plays Brett in the sort of that very cool scene.
A Sprite.
Yeah.
May I have some of this beverage to wash this down?
Yeah.
He gets the Ezekiel speech, doesn't he? He's the one that gets Ezekiel speech.
Yeah. Fun fact, as an aside from the Ezekiel speech, my first band that I was in, a metal band, at the beginning of one of our songs, we used the Ezekiel speech as a sample.
Oh.
At the beginning.
You're probably going to get sued for that now you've said that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were like 16 at the time. We had no idea of copyright.
That's cool, though.
But we were like, that's cool. Let's use it. Yeah.
That's very cool. So yeah, I mean, this movie kind of pans out. It goes into all kinds of different directions from this point on. They go into there's a kind of Humvee chase through the desert, another Humvee chase.
Yeah. I'm only borrowing your Humvee.
Only borrowing your Humvee, Mr. Pritchard. And then they go to a mine, and Christian Slater then arms a nuclear weapon and sets it off.
He does. He didn't want to, but
Well,
he does.
But he did. He did, and he
Gets
takes out
tricked
half of
into
the
it, doesn't he?
Utah desert.
He gets tricked
Butterflies after a nuclear weapon. That's a good thing. Butterflies are good.
Yeah, he thinks he's being all clever, doesn't he?
He does.
Christian Slater, and then he just gets taken down a peg by getting tricked
he's
into
right.
arm the nuclear weapon.
Yeah, he arms a nuclear weapon. I love it how they get to that mine shaft and he puts the active nuke in the mine cart and he leaves the other nuke just by the elevator. And there's loads of room in that mine cart for 2 nukes because he wanted to bury the other nuke with the other one and let it blow it up underground and then bury the other one. But they just leave it by the elevator and they put the other one in the mine cart and they're like, oh, we'll leave that one there by the elevator. And obviously John Travolta turns up and he just puts it on the elevator and takes it back up to the surface.
It up again.
Yeah.
It's all a bit pointless, that. And it turns into like the Goonies, doesn't it, for a second, in that, when they're trying to escape because the bomb's going to go off and they sort of lock them down. They destroy the lift back up, like, because they're down the shaft. And, there's a whole scene down there where they're sort of chasing each other, big gunfight between the bad guys and Christian Slater and Samantha Mathis. And they're trying to get back out because they think they're going to die because the nuclear weapon's about to go off right near them. Try and find a way out.
It's very Goonie. So where do they go?
Well, she's like, oh, there's a river. There's a river underneath it. That's why they shut down the mine, blah, blah, blah. And there's some secret access tunnels. And she finds a map. She like points to the map and it close up on the thing. She's like, it's this way. And they go down there. And he goes like, it's like pure comedy, isn't it? He goes, I don't think there's anything down here. And they fall down like this hole that opens up.
The floor gives way.
Yeah.
The rock floor gives way, doesn't it?
Yeah. And they go sliding down like a watery tunnel and then pop up in a big lake, in a pond.
And what's funny, when they pop up in that big lake, it's like they've just surfaced from a river that's like pushed them out at the bottom of the lake, when in truth they're probably just like coming out at the side, but for some reason they pop out in the middle of the lake and they're right in the middle of it. Right in the middle of it, gasping for air. Like, what? Surely they would have just been popped out on the side of the lake and they wouldn't be gasping for air, but for some reason they're now in the middle of the lake.
In the middle of it, why not? They needed to swim, didn't they?
He did.
So
we then see that nuke go off, and it's awesome. That scene is absolutely amazing when it takes out that.
It's really good.
The helicopter with all the guys in the suits, like the anti-nuclear.
Oh yeah, they're like in like space
anti-radiation. Yeah.
And
it just takes him out. He's like, EMP. He's like, EMP, Mr. Pritchard. And you just watch the helicopter blow up.
Yeah.
And he's like, I say, goddamn, what a rush.
Yeah, goddamn, what a rush. Yeah. So
John Travolta's on top form in this, isn't he?
He's amazing.
He's
just a nutcase. Absolute nutcase.
So that continues on. We then see John Travolta grows tired of Mr. Pritchard constantly talking to him, and he hits him in the throat with a truncheon.
Or a torch or something. He just
some kind of baton.
Slaps him in the throat and kills him.
Yep. Slaps him in the throat, kills him.
Yeah.
Throws him out of the car. And obviously Mr. Pritchard didn't like him smoking. So John Travolta then lights up another cigarette and then flicks it at him. Flicks it at the dead body.
Flicks it at his body. Before, he says one of my favourite lines where he just looks at him like, because his head's tilted back, he's dead, mouth agape sort of thing. And he just says, Mr. Pritchard, would you mind stepping outside? Before like pushing his body out of the Humvee that's got no doors left.
Brilliant.
And been blown off. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Loved it.
So from that point on, they jump on a boat. Terry somehow gets stuck in the boat. She couldn't jump out of it, and she's just sitting under a sheet.
Yeah.
And they go off in their little boat. Yeah. And it turns into planes, trains, and automobiles at this point, doesn't it?
Basically, yeah.
Hale gets found. He gets, pulled out of the river somewhere, apparently near a port. And John Travolta then boards a train, and he's going to detonate the train in Salt Lake City or Denver, Colorado. You're not quite sure. No. And they're not quite sure. So Christian Slater asked Delroy Lindo to overthrow protocol and send him into the field to stop Deakins, which he allows, much to his chagrin, because it ends up ultimately killing him.
Yeah.
And we then get one of the best train-based action moments of all time.
Yeah, it's very good. The whole last sequence to this film is very good. From an action stance, lots of good stunts going on. It's all physically done. It's on a moving train. There's some really cool stuff. There's some gunfights across the top, helicopters blowing up. Not to mention the end. But there is some really good stuff.
There's about half a second that's absolutely terrible of this entire sequence.
Yeah.
Which we'll come on to.
Terrible.
And it's a solid half a second. It really is.
Oh, it is.
So this was really cool. I love the fact that they were doing the stunts actually on a moving train. They were literally running along a train, hanging on the side, jumping off it.
Lots of aerial footage, of them running across the top of it, and people falling off the side, and really cool.
I love when the helicopter comes down and it buzzes the train, and it takes a couple of the henchmen out with the blades. The
it's so good. Yeah, it's really good, that scene. Yeah, really good. And then it like flips over, doesn't it? And then the helicopter flips over, and the rotors are like, the back rotors go spinning round. It's really close to me, like pushes her out of the way. Oh, it's really good. That I really like.
Yeah, all that stuff, all the helicopter based stuff is good. The stunts are great in this.
Yeah.
But I don't think that this scene is like the final end of the scene is like the best it could have been. But it was almost like they were just like, how are we going to kill John Travolta? How are we going to get rid of him?
Yeah.
Do you want to take us through that step by step? In fact, let's just before we do that. So they've got this nuclear warhead, and it's sitting in a like a what do you call them? Like
a crate.
Sitting on a crate.
Crate thing. Yeah.
It's just sitting on a crate in an old caboose or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're caboose. Caboose. And it's basically he wants to arm it. And so he's got Terry there, Samantha Mathis, and he makes her arm the bomb in what can only be described as the most sexual arming of a nuclear warhead in the history of cinema.
So disturbing.
It's really disturbing.
I was like, what is going on here?
He's like, it's not even what he's doing, it's how she's acting.
Doing. Yeah, it's really weird.
He's like, making her push the buttons with the gun. He's like got his arm around her and he's making her push the buttons on the bomb to arm it with the gun. And every time she pushes the button, she's like, and like she's like, and then he like gets the gun and he like rubs the gun like across her cheek and like towards her mouth.
Yeah.
And she's like, like lipstick, isn't it? Like all lipstick on.
It's fucking weird.
It's really and he's like, weird. 7. She's like, 7. Like presses 7. It's really uncomfortable. It made me feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Very 90s.
Fucking odd.
But a very sexual scene nonetheless. And we then see good old Hale jumps in, takes out the big meathead, kicks him off the side of the train, and he falls to his death.
Yeah,
with
that was a shame.
Yeah.
I like that guy.
Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, it was.
And they then have a fist fight for the ages. Their final fist fight.
They do. I mean, it's it's very back and forth, and it's like it's good, isn't it? Because it relates back to the first scene of the film, and this is the final scene. They're having a boxing match basically, but instead of in the ring, it's now in a train, and they're flying through crates and fighting over, trying to grab a gun, and it's all the typical stuff, like they're just getting pushed through
with
crates.
The Hans Zimmer score behind it as well.
Yeah, with the score like ramping up and the bombs counting down.
Yeah,
and he's like, I could disarm it with this button. He's like, why don't you? He's like, because I don't feel like it.
Yeah,
I'm not in the mood. Is the line? I'm not in the mood.
Yeah, and the train's heading towards like a another train, the front part of the train, isn't it?
Yeah,
as well. So you've got that. The train's about to crash as well.
Yeah. It's all imminent
into a flaming
danger.
Train.
Yeah, but with a nuclear weapon on board.
And we then see Christian Slater punches John Travolta. He hits him up against a wall.
Yeah.
And just as the train is about to hit the other train, and the zero is the one is about to go to 0 and set off the nuke.
Yeah.
Christian Slater dives out with the little device.
Yeah.
Beep. Deactivates it in midair, points at it, doesn't he? He doesn't have to point at it. It's just a general remote. He doesn't have to go beep, but he does anyway. He goes beep, deactivates the warhead. As the train hits the other train, everything goes like full G, doesn't it? It's like
I mean, it's the most
G-force.
John Woo thing you can think of. It's Hale jumping out backwards from the train, pressing a remote instead of firing a gun
in slow motion,
while I'll let go on, carry on because it's amazing.
And we then see the warhead kind of shakes itself loose off of the boxes, and it flies through the air for what can only be described as a good 25 seconds.
It felt like it.
Beep, beep, beep. And that's the noise it's making as it's approaching John Travolta, who's kind of slowly getting up, you know. I don't know how he's actually still getting up. The train hits the other train and the warhead's moving forward, but John Travolta's kind of climbing upwards. He's not like going back through the wall.
It makes no sense, no scientific sense.
It makes no sense whatsoever. But it then cuts, and just in the half a second before it hits John Travolta, we see what I have always classed as my favorite ever movie dummy. And that is
why.
That is the John Travolta dummy, which is basically a padded out jumper, blue jumper, and a sweatshirt and a pair of
like a
chinos.
scarecrow.
Yeah, like a scarecrow.
Like a scarecrow.
He's padded out like a scarecrow with a rubber John Travolta mask on, which has a little bit of blood on his nose to mimic how he looks in the film. And it's not like it's there, like it's just a split second. It's like half a second. So you see the dummy and you wait for it to get hit, and then you see it get hit. And then, and only then, we also hear the dummy go, "Ugh!" as the warhead hits him in the stomach and pushes him through the back wall of the train.
It folds in half.
He folds completely in half.
And seems to go through like like an insanely small gap in the carriage with the rocket. It's a ridiculous. I laughed so much when this happened. I didn't know what was going to happen. But as we said, going back to The Rock, it's another way. It's similarity. It's another character that dies, but this one a main character by getting fired out of somewhere with a rocket. It's amazing. It's
this
one
one
of the best.
Not even propelled by the rocket itself, just propelled by apparently G-force.
By G-force, yeah. The best thing is that you get that little cut to Travolta's face before his death, and he gives it like a wry smile, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like he gives like a little wry smile to camera as it zooms in on his face, and then the whole dummy thing happens. It's insane. It's ridiculous, but I love it.
Yeah.
It's one of the best deaths in a film I've ever seen in my life.
Completely agree. And it has always been for that reason. And what's amazing about this is that I noticed this when this was out on, I think my brother bought it on video, on VHS. And I remember watching it and on video, seeing it. And you know how bad resolution video was, right? Yeah. And seeing it and being like, did you see that? My brother was like, yeah. And I was like, the John Travolta dummy. He was like, the John Travolta dummy. So like, it's always been about that.
Folding in half.
Yeah, and then we paused it. We did it in slow motion. You can see it in slow motion. It's if you do like freeze frame on it on the DVD, if you got the DVD or on Netflix or whatever, you can just clearly see the John Travolta dummy. It's truly one of the best dummies of all time.
We'll post a link to it on Instagram. There's a YouTube video just showing that scene. It's well worth a watch.
Yep.
Well worth a watch. Yeah, amazing.
For me, because I've always known about the John Travolta dummy. This film is basically just a build-up for me to see that dummy again.
For the entirety of the film.
From the minute you see that boxing fight at the beginning, I'm thinking about the dummy. I'm thinking, this is where this movie is going to get to. It's going to get to seeing that dummy get folded into a half sandwich and just pulled through that door with the sound effect. You also see him fly out and hit all the barrels and then blow up as well. So
yeah. I mean, a lot of stuff happens after.
Yeah,
but I'm a little bit sad that I can never experience that for the first time again, because I had that this week. You know, I managed to watch it.
I'm happy that you did, and you noticed it as well.
Oh yeah, you can't not.
Is it because I talked about it before or not?
No, I did, honestly, I knew nothing about this film. Like, honestly, as I said at the beginning, I really thought that I knew that I'd seen this film. And as soon as I started watching it, I got like half an hour in. I was like, I haven't seen it. I was like, I thought I'd seen it. I thought it's got to ring some bells in a minute. I'm going to see something that I recognize. I've watched it on TV, at some point, or seen it from halfway through. But no, not at all. Definitely,
that is really surprising for me. That's really surprising.
I know, surprising for me as well. Oh, do you want some trivia then?
Do you kind of wish that you'd seen this in the 90s?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, but I'm sort of glad I didn't.
Like for me, this is a classic. It's like an absolute classic.
Yeah, oh yeah. If you
I've
wanna
seen
watch
this. I've probably seen this more than like probably more than like Predator. I've seen it more than
Really?
Commando. Yeah.
Oh my god, impossible.
I used to watch this film all the time, especially like if I was
I
staying
can
home
see-
from school. This is a film I would watch.
Yeah.
At home.
If you want to watch a classic '90s action film, this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the list with all the others. But yeah,
It's on the list with all the
definitely
others,
should
isn't it?
be. Yeah, definitely.
It's up. It's like it's not up there with the quality of The Rock
No,
because it's
but it's
still
still good.
lacking something, but it's still
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to give some trivia.
Let's do it.
Christian Slater did almost all of his own stunts,
Hmm.
and apparently he gave up. I heard that he gave up smoking in preparation for the role because he knew it was going to be quite physical.
That's hilarious.
But he was quite adamant.
So Christian Slater gave up smoking, and then every scene he's in with John Travolta's
to
blowing
watch
smoke
John
in his
Travolta
face.
blow smoke in his face. Maybe that's why they did it.
Outstanding, Hale. That's the spirit. Yeah.
Amazing. So Howie Long's character. So we didn't really mention him much, but he's like the main henchman. Like he's another
The
military
big
guy
meathead
that's
that
got
gets kicked out of the
rogue,
train.
Yeah. Kelly is the character name. But
Yeah.
yeah, this guy called Howie Long. He's this big like meathead. He's got flat top. He looks like Guile from Street Fighter.
Yeah, he
basically.
does. He's a football player, wasn't he? Was he a football player?
I think so, yeah. So apparently his character was originally supposed to get killed off earlier in the film. But when like the executives from Fox saw like the dailies, they liked his performance, so they made them expand his role so he could be in the whole film.
They liked his performance.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Samantha Mathis asked friend Sandra Bullock for tips on doing action scenes. Bullock told her to hum the James Bond theme before every take.
Why?
I don't know.
That's so weird.
John Woo's earlier cut came in at the 2-hour mark and featured more character development and more violence in the action scenes. I mean, what's more violent than a rocket folding someone in half? Who knows? I don't know, but I sort of want to see it. I mean, it's still an hour and 48 minutes long, this film.
It didn't feel that long though.
It doesn't feel that long. No, you're right. It doesn't. Now, the phase broken arrow, which is explained in the film, in the film, they say it's when a nuclear weapon is lost, right? But apparently, just to do some
I'm not sure what's more disturbing.
the
fact that you can lose 2 nuclear warheads, or the fact that this happens so frequently that you have a name for it.
Exactly. But the phase broken arrow is not actually used to refer to the theft, loss, or seizure of nuclear weapons or components from the US. That's known as an empty quiver.
Oh.
And as we know, arrows are kept in quivers. A broken arrow is defined by CJCSI 3150.03b, Joint Reporting Structure Event and Incident Reports, as a US nuclear weapon accident that does not create the risk of a nuclear war.
Wow.
There you go.
But the kind of whole point of this is that it was going to potentially... Well, no, it wasn't going to create a nuclear war, was it? Because it was just going to blow up. So what you're saying is this film should have been called Empty Quiver, starring John Travolta.
Empty Quiver.
And
Yeah, I was going to say,
Slater.
what sounds cooler, Broken Arrow or Empty Quiver?
Incredible.
Yeah.
I had an empty quiver after watching this film.
I did after watching the scene where he's, where she's getting all hot under the collar,
With the
putting in
nuclear
the
weapon.
numbers in the
Oh, 7. Oh, God.
During the final few blows of the last fist fight,
Hmm.
as Hale is punching and kicking, growls and roars of large cats, i.e. lions and tigers, can be heard.
Really?
Yeah.
I need to rewatch that scene.
I need to rewatch it because I've read that scene. I was like, what? Yes. So a portion, this is a good one, a portion of Hans Zimmer's score was also used in Scream 2.
Really?
It was in 97.
Oh,
so
it was.
year
It was
after,
the introduction to one of the characters.
I think so.
I was going to say Doofy, but it's not that scary. That's a scary movie. Officer Doofy fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
But David Arquette's character, they use it for David Arquette's character, don't they? The ding, 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 ding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
They
been a
do.
long time since I've seen
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. This is something. So Helen Hunt was offered the role of Terry Carmichael, or Samantha Mathis's character, and turned it down in favor of Twister, which also came out in 96 as well.
Also brilliant.
But I could 100% see Helen Hunt doing that role.
Yeah, I can as well.
Couldn't you? Like as a park ranger, sort of doing that role.
She'd be brilliant.
I could have seen that. She would have been good at that. This one's great, right? So originally, the studio hired director Dwight H. Little to direct the film, but had a decision to make, as he was also offered Free Willy 2, The Adventure Home, at the same time. Little chose to do Free Willy 2 for Warner Brothers, figuring it would be highly successful like the original film. Fox then hired John Woo for the film, since he was the perfect director for a film of this nature.
Yeah. God, we could have ended up with a really bad movie, couldn't we?
Free Willy 2, he directed instead of Broken Arrow.
Free Deke.
Free Deaky.
They should call it
Freaky Deaky 2.
Broken Arrow 2. Broken Arrow 2. Free Deke.
Free Deke. Deke's Empty Quiver.
No. Broken Arrow 2. Free Deke in 3D.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, he'd come out the rocket. He would fire towards the screen in 3D,
and he would say, "What a terrible thing to say."
Yeah, his cigarette would be out of the screen at you in 3D as well.
All the smoke would be blowing around. You could do that. One of those 4D things where you pump like dry ice in every time he's on the screen. Just smoke.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
And funny because you mentioned this earlier on, but critic Jeffrey Lyons, at the time the film was released in February 96, criticized the film as planes, trains, and automobiles with exploding helicopters and endless explosions.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I mean, like, criticized.
What was his name?
That just sounds amazing. Jeffrey Lyons.
Jeffrey Lyons, listen, sign me up, all right? Planes, trains, and automobiles with exploding helicopters. Get me in there.
Yeah.
Why would you
see that?
All he did there is he just sold the movie. He was trying to like put it down, but he just sold the movie.
Yeah, he just made it more desirable.
Absolutely. To its target audience.
Yeah, I mean, and there you go. That's my trivia.
What's your favorite John Woo movie?
I do enjoy Hard Boiled. That's John Woo, right?
Yep.
I like Hard Boiled's great. I'm trying to think what other John Woo films I've seen.
I'll give you a clue. You can take your face.
Oh God, of course, Face Off. Jesus, yeah. He did do that. But no, I prefer his sort of like the Hard Boiled,
more of his Hong Kong action stuff.
Hard Target,
Hard Target,
kind of stuff. Hard Target, actually, Hard Target's brilliant as well.
Yeah, Chance Boudreau, isn't it?
Yeah,
Jean-Claude Van Damme was Chance Boudreau.
I'm just looking at his list again. Mission Impossible 2 he did, which wasn't very good. But
it was terrible. It was the worst Mission Impossible movie by a long way.
Yeah.
By a long way.
Oh, he did Windtalkers as well. That was Nicolas Cage, wasn't it?
Yeah. That wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad.
No, that was all right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No, I like Hard Boiled and Hard Target.
Anything hard you like, Phil, apparently.
Yeah.
I like anything broken.
Yeah. Wow. What a film. Go and watch it.
Go and watch Broken Arrow. It's an absolute classic. Where did you watch it in the UK?
I rented it from Amazon, I believe. Amazon Prime Video. So
it's available on Amazon to rent. In the US, I watched it on YouTube for free.
Oh, right. Okay.
With some adverts.
Available on there?
Yeah, there were just some adverts in the middle that they put in there.
Oh, okay.
And it's also available on Roku TV, which is another free app that you can use. And again, it gives you adverts, but I've seen this movie so many times, I didn't really worry about the adverts.
No. I wanted an unspoiled experience.
You really did.
You can get it on, so just checking for UK people, because I'm looking at the app that tells you where you can watch things. You can get it on Yeah, the Sky Store. I could have rented it through my Skybox, Apple TV, Amazon, Microsoft Movies, and Rakuten TV as well.
Okay.
So it's available. Yeah, they're all like £3.49 to rent it in HD. I did it from Amazon, but
Go watch it, or find a DVD somewhere and watch that. That would be even better.
yeah, or VHS.
Or VHS, and you can watch the John Travolta dummy get pulled out of the train like a sandwich. All right, Phil. Brilliant movie. I'm glad that you thought it's the best movie you've ever seen. I also clearly agree. Have you got any last words for us?
Words in my mouth. No, because we've done all the quotes from there.
What a terrible thing to say. Hush, hush, Mr. Pritchard, hush. So join us on the next Movie Mouth podcast slice of movie and TV related fun. But before then, please follow our Facebook and Instagram accounts at Movie Mouth Podcast and hit subscribe or give us a nice 5-star review on your popcorn on your podcast player of choice. There is just one last thing to say, Phil, isn't there?
There usually is, yeah.
What is it this time?
Goodbye.
Goodbye.